Hello there, and welcome back to the booth here at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. That's Paul Chiana, Marshall Sutcliffe. We're happy to have you along for the booster draft portion here on day number 1. We're down in the feature match area, Paul. We have 2 heavy hitters of Japanese Magic, Shuhei Nakamura playing for Team Kuzumono, and Kenji Tsumura. These are 2 Hall of Famers, by the way. He's playing for Team Final Last Samurai. We're starting in team
Final Last
penultimate
Samurai.
But Final Last Samurai is the team he's on. They are ready to go. Let's head down. It's time for round number 2 here from Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. Hello and welcome back to coverage here in Bilbao, Spain. We're here for Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Paul Chian, and we are ready for round 2. Well, of the entire tournament. That means, of course, it's booster draft. We're here early in the day. On a Friday, down in our feature match area, boy, we have 2 heavy hitters of Japanese Magic. And I'm not even talking about just now. I'm talking about all-timers, right? These are 2 of the best players that Japan has produced. Both of them, in fact, in the Hall of Fame. That is Shuhei Nakamura, the player you're looking at right there, playing for Team Kuzumono. And on the other side of the table, that is Kenji Tsumura. He plays for Team Final Last Samurai, and it looks like they're just about ready to go here. Both of these players, by the way, are 1-0 coming out of the gates, Paul, and let's see what they've brought to the table here in the booster draft portion. You know, one of the big storylines last weekend, or maybe even the weekend before, really early in the format, was Kenji Tsumura posting decks on Twitter of him winning, going 3-0, with, you know, between, say, 4 and 6 Sailor of Means in the deck, and kind of popularizing that archetype.
Yeah, he posted a lot of kind of pictures of his decks on Twitter with just, you know, trying to go full-on Ascend with Sailor of Means, because it is one of the best ways to put a bunch of permanents onto the battlefield. So I was kind of interested to see if he would go that direction here, but it looks like he's just opting for a more streamlined, just straight white-black deck here instead. It doesn't look like he's also like incredibly heavy on the synergies here, as he does have multiple copies of Raptor Companion as well in the deck.
You can see Shuhei Nakamura go ahead and getting in with his blue-black Pirates deck here. That's a Kitesail Corsair. Very difficult creature to block in the early to mid part of the game, often responsible for 4, 6, sometimes 8 damage before it can be dealt with. And he's got a pretty decent little curve out going here with the Dinosaur Hunter, fine, but also following it up with that Phantom Fleet Border up at the top, which is a really nice little middle-of-the-curve creature there, a 3/3 for 3 mana, in this case, with no downside.
Yeah, and Kenji did have to take a turn off, or could not play a 3-drop because he did have that Evolving Wilds in hand, but it looks like he solved his mana issues, and the perfect card, the perfect foil to that Kitesail Corsair with the Exultant Sky Marcher, keeping it at bay.
That does match up very poorly from the Kitesail Corsair perspective, doesn't it?
Oh, wow. But Shuhei Nakamura has a Skullduggery in hand. And I think he's just trying to figure out, you know, Kenji Tsumura does also have access to 1 black mana. What are the chances that Kenji also has a copy of Skullduggery? Of course, the chances are much lower now, given that you only have 1 pack of Ixalan.
Yeah, it looks like Shuhei also operating with a bit of a mana deficiency here, just on 3 for the last couple of turns. He also has Walk the Plank in his hand as well, which he could choose to deploy pre-combat on the Exultant Sky Marcher. Yeah, he's going to send it walking, and that's going to get him in. Tempting to go for the Skullduggery play there, no?
It is, but this is kind of the safer play. There is nothing Kenji could really do about that. And he does have a Perilous Voyage in hand as well, so he can maybe look to set up a better play in future turns with that Skullduggery. It'll always be around. But Kenji does deploy another flyer here, and I bet he's kind of wishing that he had that Walk the Plank in hand now, because the Harpy is now basically brickwalling that Kitesail Corsair.
Mausoleum Harpy, right, is just big enough at 3/3 with flying for 5 mana that it can get in the way and actually provide a pretty awkward situation here from Shuhei's perspective. Like you said, Walk the Plank on the Harpy looks a lot better, as the Skullduggery doesn't actually get his creature through
and
it.
Shuhei drew a Siren Reaver, which he really wants to play this turn, but okay.
Well, this means the Kitesail Corsair is going to have to sit back, but a main phase Skullduggery to take out a blocker on the other side is going to enable 2 nice little attacks here from Shuhei Nakamura. He's effectively forcing either chump blocks or trades at the worst.
Yeah, and Kenji doesn't have a great block there. Doesn't want to trade off that Harpy. He's got, what, 7 permanents on the battlefield, so he is 3 permanents away from ascending. And he's got that Pious Interdiction. Now, removal in the form of auras have also risen significantly in value because of the existence of the Ascend mechanic. But that also goes both ways because, you play your Water Knots and your Luminous Bonds, which helps you with your Ascend, but you're also not removing cards from your opponent's side. So if they have Ascend cards, it also helps them out as well. Shuhei just getting a lot of work done. Still just stuck on 3 lands here. Oh, and that was an end-of-turn Perilous Voyage on the Mausoleum Harpy. Tempo play, as Shuhei is just trying to maximize the mana that he uses and just basically tempo Kenji out. He knows that Kenji does have the mana advantage, so he wants to end this game sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
and wow.
There's that Reaver as well. Yeah, like you said, really trying to just put the pressure as much on Kenji as possible. One of the things about Ascend is interesting is that if left unchecked, most decks will Ascend quite easily, actually. And some of them can Ascend quite quickly if they're putting 2 permanents into play a couple of times as well. But if you can force them to interact with you in combat, it's actually very difficult to get to Ascend, and that's exactly what Shuhei's doing. He just forced to trade with the Dust Charger, for example, kind of ensuring that that thing won't ever become a 5/5. By forcing Kenji to trade it off while it's still just 3/3.
So Kenji did have the option of playing that Mausoleum Harpy again, but he decided to go with the Pious Interdiction here instead because he doesn't really want to trade that Harpy with the 3/2 flyer. So play the Interdiction, get it off the board, then this turn you play the Harpy, and then you can use the Harpy to block the Corsair and not have to worry about that Siren Reaver.
This is actually a big turn here for Shuhei. He's at 8 permanents towards Ascend, and he has Spirewinder now. If he can just play a creature... Okay, cancel that order. Impale's going to shoot down the Mausoleum Harpy and clear the way for even more damage. 4 damage in the air, and that is enough for Kenji to say, well, you're going to kill me next turn anyway. I'm going to go ahead and scoop up my permanent.
Shuhei's spells are incredible.
Yeah, that was really fantastic stuff. All of it working well with his main game plan as well, culminating with that Impale at the end when he finally hit his 4th mana. All right, that's going to be game 1 going to Shuhei Nakamura. We're going to finish up this match and many others right after these messages.
Up your game with Ultra Pro Magic the Gathering accessories. Find the best Magic art on card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and more. Visit ultrapro.com to learn more and find a retailer near you.
Fans are the people we want to hear because they are way more fans than there are Wizards employees, for one. And for 2, they know what they want to see in this game. And so we have to listen. We are committed to listening to the fans, and we are committed to bringing this experience, an experience together that makes sense to the fans.
welcome back to the feature match area here at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Paul Cheon. We had a chance to take a look at the deck list from our main match. When we get back over there, we'll fill you in on some of the cool details. Shuhei Nakamura coming up with the archetype I haven't actually seen before ever, and it's pretty cool. But in the meantime, they're still shuffling, so let's take a look at Paulo Vitor Damarosa versus Olivier Ruel. Both players came in with a 1-0 record, so a good start for both of them. Cool to see Olivier at her as well. You know, he was a player that was dominant in many ways.
Absolutely.
Right before my time, you know, before
during my time.
Yeah. And it was interesting. I actually had a chance to meet him after the last round. It's the first time I've ever got to shake his hand.
Is that a Zatalpa?
That is a Zatalpa. Absolutely. It is a Zatalpa. And this one's going to be over very, 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 very quickly if that's the case.
Yeah, Olivier's
because he's going to be at 1 here, is Paulo.
He's also got 3 copies of Prosperous Pirates to turbo Zatalpa.
That is awesome. Look, Zatalpa's too expensive to be considered a premium rare,
right.
But if you can cast that card, it is awesome.
If you want to end the game, that is certainly a great way to do so.
That's right. Okay, so back on our main table here, what Shuhei is actually doing is he has made blue-black flyers. So, you know, for people that draft a lot, they'll be aware of what's typically a blue-white deck that it contains a lot of flyers and then creatures on the ground with high toughness or just hard to get through on the ground, and you just clean them up in the air. Shuhei has done that except for with black. So instead of white, he has good removal like Impale and Walk the Plank, but he plays a ton of flyers. He's even running a Favorable Winds in this deck.
Favorable Winds?
Yeah.
That's insane. How do you in blue-black? That is unreal. And also, this is just like one of the best Sailor Means I've seen. It just completely held Kenji's army back at bay.
Yes.
He had the Raptor Companion along with the Legion Conquistador. Offense and defense here. I just want to see Favorable Winds be cast.
Me too. Now, this is kind of an interesting situation here as Shuhei is able to attack, but he is bluffing / representing a trick, right? There's an interaction here that Kenji has to take into account, which is, you know, does Shuhei have a card like Skullduggery or something like that? Because he actually has a blocker now for the Kitesail Corsair in the form of his 1/3 flyer.
Yeah, he could also be holding a card like Moment of Craving, too.
Mm-hmm. And he decided not to block it as well. He's going to respect the fact that Shuhei very likely has something.
Yeah, it looks like Kenji is just stuck on planes here.
Yeah. Although it looks like his hand is filled up with a bunch of white cards, too.
He might just be mostly white here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's not really messing with him that much, but no. Shuhei with an excellent start here.
And there's the Pious Interdiction to take care of the Reaver. He's just going to pass the turn back. Relatively stable, but again, if Shuhei attacked last turn, he's going to do it again this turn. Yep. And at some point, Kenji's going to have to either find an answer or just call and get that combat trick out of his hand. In the meantime, he's just going to keep taking 2 damage a turn.
Is there another flyer? It's got to be another flyer, right? Oh.
Well,
nope.
Not this time, though. It doesn't look terrible. If you can find a way to deal with the Raptor Companion, it could be an okay attacker, though. I do suspect that... that Kenji has another copy of Legion Conquistador in hand, as is normally the case. Hey, there's a swamp right on time there for Tsumura. That's going to give him the City's Blessing as well as a Mausoleum Harpy. So we could be in business. Yeah. Now we might see Kenji go ahead and block with his Skyblade of the Legion.
Right, yeah. Kenji's far more likely to block here. And if you can tell, if you look on Kenji's side of the board, he does have 9 permanents, but can't forget about those auras. Pious Interdiction giving him that 10th permanent for the City's Blessing.
Yep, such an important interaction when you're playing decks that are trying to get to the City's Blessing, and we've seen it already here in the very early stages of the tournament multiple times already.
And I think that's why you see blue-white just be the common Ascend archetype. Of course, you have cards like the Sailor of Means, but on top of that, you have lots of removal in the form of auras. You have the Pious Interdiction, you do have the Luminous Bonds, you have the Sea Legs, and the Water Knot. So just all those cards are very playable in that deck. It really helps you build up to get the City's Blessing. Oh, but that's an Impale out of Shuhei.
Yeah, that's a big play there that looked like Kenji Tsumura may have been on kind of a plan there. And you can see that all he's able to do here is just rebuild the board on the ground. But
is that Corsair going all the way?
It might. I mean, it has done all of the damage so far, and it's doing a pretty good job of piling in turn after turn after turn. Kenji, though, Shuhei is out of gas here. He's just got a couple... There's another flyer right off the top of the library. Skymarch Bloodletter is going to help in a big way, right? I mean, this is a huge swing as far as getting in for a lot more in the air and producing a real clock, because all of a sudden, Kenji's looking a lot more threatening with that Hammer Skull.
Yeah, he's got that Hammer Skull, which you could use to now attack past the Sailor of Means, but Shuhei also has a 3/3 on the battlefield, so it's going to be rough. But Kenji does need to start attacking here because he can't just sit back and die to the flyers.
Yeah, the Sailor of Means is really annoying for Kenji at this point, because he could be fine with tapping down the Fathom Fleet border, which is what he's going to do here. But that means that his Raptor companion, his highest power creature, has to stay home because it just gets gobbled up.
So now will Shuhei just look to race here? No, it looks like he's going for the double block here and just trying to and just use the Kitesail Corsair to go all the way. Because
God, I love watching these guys play, Paul.
Yeah, fast, crisp.
Oh, they make such, it's
They don't need to go into tank.
Man, but if Kenji can find an answer for the Kitesail Corsair, we will actually have a stalled out board now, because the draw step for Shuhei was not super impressive. It was just Dinosaur Hunter.
Yeah, but Kenji just keeps drawing a bunch of these cheap ground creatures, and Sailor means just kind of brickwalling all of them. Oh!
Hey, we found a
go.
blocker.
Kinjali Sunwing.
That's right. Go! And we now have a stable board here between these players, and we're going to see if Kenji Tsumura can start to swing things back. You know, he was the one that popularized the Sailor of Means deck, but that Sailor of Means, Shuhei's side, is really torturing him.
We are in top deck mode now, but Kenji is holding 2 lands. What does Shuhei find?
He found a Vampire Revenant.
For a second, I was like, did he play that last turn? But, of course, there is text on Kinjali Sunwing, which says, all creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped.
That's right. But this one's going to be tapped this time on the attacks.
Yes.
Because he says, sure, I'll trade off for your Sunwing. I want to clear the way for this Kitesail Corsair. And he's actually going to do that.
Right. All right, Kenji still needs to find a way to deal with that Kitesail Corsair. What was that?
That was a Queen's Agent off the top of the library, which actually looks good, especially if he hits.
Yeah, and definitely, especially if you're in a racing situation here with that Kitesail Corsair.
Oh, he's got to get a counter on this
he needs
thing,
a spell here.
Oh, he hit it, and it's a Dust Charger. That's a 5/5.
Would you keep a 5/5 on top?
I would.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
It really does, because he is going to be able to race the Kitesail Corsair, assuming that his Queen's Agent survives. Now, if it doesn't, well, then that's a different equation. But I think he's going to have to assume that it does at this point.
Kenji looking to see if he has a decent attack this turn, but I think he might just wait one more turn and then maybe consider attacking with everything next turn.
He's going to leave that Dust Charger on top of the library. And Shuhei really wants to find like a bounce spell or a removal spell. He doesn't. He finds a Spirewinder.
Spirewinder, but he does have the City's Blessing here. That is a 3/4 flyer.
Not bad. So that means that if the Queen's Agent does want to get in, it's only going to get in once. It's going to trade off for something probably decent on the other side of the battlefield, like a Fathom Fleet border or something. But the interesting part about it is that Kenji can't just sit back on it forever, because he's going to be taking a lot of damage in the air.
Yeah, this is a really rough spot now. Kenji, does he even have a good attack here? With the Spirewinder on the battlefield, that's just going to eat one of the replicas. He is content here trading off one of the creatures and just gaining 4 life here.
It's just not a great trade for him, but it is kind of what he needs to do at this point, because he's going to be taking so much damage in the air. He needs to take advantage of the Queen's Agent while he can. And he actually has to decide, is he going to kill that traitorous Sailor of Means that has betrayed him, or the much bigger creature?
That might actually be correct, because of the 2 copies of Raptor Companion that Kenji has on the battlefield. But he looks like he's going to go for the bigger creature here instead. And the reason why he attacked there is he's going to trade with one of the creatures. And now Shuhei is put to the test. Does he want to attack with that Spirewinder or keep it back? Because it's currently doing an excellent job on defense here, kind of just keeping all of Kenji's creatures at bay. But you know, we might still be in a racing situation. Kenji is, however, at 11 life. He's got 5 power in the air. So it's actually a 3-turn clock. And Shuhei needs to deal with that 5/5 that's also on the battlefield here. Wow.
Yeah, Shuhei's just going to pass back, play his land. And these players
didn't even
just
attack
need to
with the
find
Corsair.
action. Nope. He's sitting back. Ooh, I like the way this game's going. There's that Dust Charger. And this is, of course, the reason that Kenji decided to kill the border last turn, was so that he could get even more value from the Dust Charger. He's going to trade it off for the Spirewinder and a really good draw. Exultant Sky Marcher from Kenji Tsumura. He's ahead now.
Yeah, Kenji stringing together some really nice draws. With Queen's Agent into the Dust Charger, into the Sky Marcher. And Shuhei flooding out a little bit here. Oh, and an Impale out of Kenji Tsumura. Does he have the second black source?
Looks like Shuhei drew a Perilous Voyage. And yes, he does have the second black
All right,
source.
and now we just send in the team.
Yeah, so now we can see that Kenji Tsumura is looking to get aggressive here as he turns his team sideways. And this one has fully slipped away from from Shuhei Nakamura, as he's going to take a lot of damage and have to trade off the remaining creatures on his board. And I don't think there's anything that's going to get him out of this mess that at least he has in his deck.
Yeah, he drew a Heartstopper, but that's only going to stop one of the creatures, and he's going to take 6.
Yeah, he needed... Oh, there's that favorable wins just a few cards down.
Would have been good earlier.
Yeah, so that means that Kenji Tsumura is going to win game number 2 here in round 2, and he's going to force a little bit of a game 3 against his countrymen. And not going to lie, pretty happy about it, just from a personal perspective. I enjoy watching these two play.
That was nice. It was very back and forth. It looked like Shuhei had a pretty good lead. You know, he had access to the flyers, but Kenji stringing together a few nice draws there to kind of come back.
Yeah, he built up a really formidable ground force and was able to finally chip his way through. Let's take a look at what Paulo Vitor Damarosa and Olivier Ruel are up to again. Oh, looks like we came in at just the wrong time there.
So what do I do?
And we're going to game 3. Good news. So that means they're tied up at 1 game apiece, and that we will at least at one point get a chance to see that. By the way, you see one empty table at the back. That's because Andrea Mengucci dispatched of the GOAT, John Finkel.
Wow.
Yeah, he's playing against John here
fast.
in round number 2. Yes, and he beat him 2-0 before we even had a chance to look in. That means one more table going. It's Ari Lax against Colin Roundtree. And they are...
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that was artifact.
oh, you can hear them. Look at this.
That's nice.
Ari shocked at something.
Oh, Colin Roundtree cast a run aground
On an artifact?
on an artifact, because run aground targets both creature and artifact. And Colin used the run aground on the captain's hook, which meant the creature that Ari equipped went to the graveyard.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, creatures don't give up that captain's hook lightly. It usually takes
It's
a piece
not
of them
just
with
trinket
it.
text.
Wow, what a beating. Great stuff from Colin Roundtree, though. That's something that even when it's in your deck, you might overlook, you know,
Right.
because what percentage of the time do you put creatures on top versus
artifact.
artifacts? 99? I mean,
Yeah,
it's you
not a
know,
lot.
It's very, very few. Secrets of the Golden City here for Colin Roundtree. This isn't usually the spot that you're happy to cast it in, but hey, you do what you got to do.
Hey, Divination has been a fine card in the past. You know, 3 mana, draw 2 cards.
It's true.
22.
Play another 1/3.
Another 1/3.
Here you go.
And you hear Colin say, I'll play another 1/3.
Yeah, but I imagine, you know, this is still not horrible. Ari can just put the captain's hook on the Bishop Soldier here, get in for 4 lifelink damage here.
With Menace, too, so it's a clean attack.
Yeah.
So many cards.
Yeah, they're all really good too.
Oh, Colin, I love
Is that
that.
what they call a joke?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
It looks like he might not have been lying either.
34.
It's like, my hand is great.
I just get destroyed by.
He's got 9 permanents currently for...
Yeah, a little awkward here because if Ari does move the hook, it will take down the Bishop
Oh,
Soldier
right.
and the Water Knot.
I'm not good at card names, so you gotta show it.
Pretty sure I'm going to get this. Let me confirm.
Sure.
Forerunner of the Legion here for Ari Lax. He says, I'm going to actually just take a quick look here. This might be the card that I get. And it is. We saw this in the last round. Look, it's not super exciting, right? Getting a Sanguine Glorifier when you can think of all the possibilities that you could get with Forerunner. But look, he's blue-white. Like, it's not like he's going to be able to have Maverick Fane every time.
Right, and it's still fine here because he does get to play it and attack for 4 next turn. Or well, even more because of the captain's hook. But you know, you get a +1/+1 counter and the trigger because it is a vampire. All right, was Colin lying about the rest of his hand? He did say his hand was really good.
I don't think he was lying, Paul.
I think it's all spells.
Yeah.
So
Like, you could take random castable spells, and I would probably just agree
Right.
with him.
but the captain's hook doing a lot of work here.
Yeah, especially in conjunction with that lifelink that we saw before. That was really good.
Yeah, that was a big swing.
So Colin Roundtree looking to try to shore up the ground game a little bit here. And he's going to make a nice step in that direction. Glorifier of Dusk.
So this is currently a 6/4 menace creature.
Yeah, we may see
We might see a trade
him
here,
traded off
Sanctifier.
here. Yeah, he would have to double block, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
+1 and +1.
Sure, so I'm at 10.
Yep.
no, he took it.
Okay.
Fair enough. You know, it depends, right? If you're looking at your hand and you've got 4 or 5 spells in hand that you're just hoping to deploy, you will often trade off on-board creatures for that. But still, you know, he did lead off with a pretty powerful
The
one.
interesting thing about that turn, though, is you already know that that's most likely Ari's next play. And if your plan wasn't to block, I think I would have actually just attacked with both of the Skyblade of the Legions
I
there.
think you're right. Yeah, I think that would have been cleaner if you knew you weren't going to block.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah.
Maybe he made his decision a little bit later, but you know, like Ari kind of telegraphed this. You knew what was coming, so.
Right. Here's Squire's Devotion, though, and this is going to be a big swing back in Colin Roundtree's direction. Because now all of a sudden he's got Glorifier of Dusk as a 5-powered lifelinker.
Yeah.
He's also got the vampire that you get from it as well.
What is that?
Sun Sentinel. But yeah, so not super exciting, but still, as you see, Colin is continually using up all of his mana and building out his board in a pretty impressive way.
Yeah, Ari
he does
needs to
look
get
to be
an
in the
answer.
driver's seat. Yeah.
He needs an answer for that Glorifier of Dusk here. He's got a 5/5 life linker that can get bigger and can fly, potentially.
All right, double block.
Yeah, he's
Take him
not.
down.
Put both my guys in.
Yep.
All right.
He is definitely not going to be able to race that.
Oh, there's
but
the
there's the
Water
water knot out of Ari Lax.
Yep.
You can see our main table's ready to go, but we're going to hang out just here for a few minutes because this game's gotten pretty good.
Not some wacky untap trick I'm forgetting about, right?
Ari's pretty chatty, as you can see.
Yeah.
No aim
If
highs.
Colin did have a way to untap,
Didn't have a rallying roar, so that's...
if he does find a way to untap, he can just give it vigilance. Actually, because the Water Net does enter the battlefield and tap the creature, so
It does.
he couldn't have played around it by giving it vigilance.
No, but as you said, this is a somewhat awkward scenario for Ari if Colin is able to untap it. The good news is there's really not that many ways to untap your
Right.
creature. You heard Ari kind of almost jokingly say rallying roar, as an option.
Yeah, but that is not a card you're really all that happy to play. So.
No. In the meantime, it's Imperial Ceratops here for Colin Roundtree. Once again, sort of bolstering his ground game position. And it looks like Ari's continually attacking, and Colin's just taking it.
Yeah, that Captain's Hook doing so much work. If Colin wanted to block, he would have to double block for the trade there.
I think I might do that.
Colin is currently at 9. What does he have here?
Maybe he has Luminous Bonds? No, Erasca Relic.
All right.
But he's going to cash it in immediately, it looks like. Get 3 life and a card.
Could be anything. Even another Erasca Relic.
Just chain them together.
You gain so much life. It's not bad if you're racing.
It's true. He's, clearly set himself up to be able to cast a card like Water Knot if he draws it. Luminous Bonds is also another card that he may be trying to find. But that Captain's Hook is really annoying.
So I do see a Water Knot in Colin's hand, and I think he's deciding, do I want to just put it on the bigger Sanctifier here, or put it on the 3/3 so that he could actually attack with his 1/1 lifelinker this turn?
He could actually clear the way right now.
My instinct would be to just put it on the bigger creature, but... Boom.
Yep. So he's going to get in there and then go ahead and lock down the biggest threat on the other side of the battlefield. You can
Ari's
see
got
Colin
a pair of Sun-Crested Pterodons in hand, but he's stuck on 4 lands.
awkward.
Yeah.
Sun-Crested Pterodon, a card that was largely overlooked in the early part of the format, but has gained a little bit of traction. I think people have definitely moved that up a bit in their pick orders.
Yeah, just if you do have another dinosaur on the battlefield, a 5-mana 2/5 Vigilance Flyer is a pretty big game. It is, and the 5 toughness is really relevant because one of the best removal spells in the format is Bombard.
That's right. It just dodges that cleanly. So Ari's just going to attack for 3.
9 to 13.
Okay.
And Colin's going to take it.
Wear the hook.
Okay.
And Raptor Companion's going to hit the battlefield.
2
And
Water Knots in graveyard.
for you flavor judges out there, it is carrying a Captain's Hook. So
It's a pirate dinosaur.
all he needs is a boat.
And so there, Ari could have chosen to equip the Sanctifier with the hook, but he chose to put it on the Raptor Companion because now it's a 5-power creature, and he can trade with the Ceratops here. So it prevents Colin from actually getting a good attack here.
Block.
Or not.
Yeah.
So I gain 3 total?
I have 11. I have 11 to 12 is like.
Yeah, so you're at 11, I'm at 12. My guy dies, yeah.
both players on the same page as far as life totals go. There's a trigger from the Ceratops as well as lifelink from the Vampire in there. Oh, look at this cleansing ray
Big
out of the
turn.
sideboard from Colin Roundtree as he casually knocks off the Water Knot. That means that next turn, Glorifier of Dusk is going to untap, and he's going to have that 5/5 lifelinker. They can even get flying if he wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Vigilance.
But Ari actually drew a reasonable card here as well. Although Colin does have a pretty big board, I think Ari might have drawn a Demystify, which would help him in the race, given that there's a Squire's Devotion on the battlefield, but still.
Yeah, it's 5, right? So on a 7, you're at 11.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wow, yeah, Ari just can't find that last mana to start dropping those Pterodons. Even then, they don't look super great on this board.
Yeah,
Colin Roundtree dominating now with that Glorifier of Dusk wearing the Squire's Devotion.
If he did find a Demystify, he could use it to get the Squire's Devotion off the board. Then he's going to need to look to draw a land because the Pterodon would keep that Sanctifier at bay.
This has been a really sweet game, though. Ari has finally run Colin Roundtree out of gas. He's got just a land left in his hand. Okay, there's Demystify.
You're 5.
5 to 7 are left totals.
Go.
You have 1 card?
Yeah.
Here you go.
It's a land.
Ari really needs a land
really
here.
needs to find a land off the top of the library here for Lax. He can't. Martyr of Dusk was the draw step there.
And I think that's it.
He's dead.
7?
If Colin gives...
Oh, what a brutal.
Kill them both.
I'm at 8. You're 5.
So Colin
double
Roundtree, by
blocked.
the way, double blocked there.
Yeah, he did not
He did
want
not
to
wanna
lose to one of the +2/+2.
Moment of Triumph,
Yeah.
Do this flying. Attack you.
Dead.
Okay.
All right, and
Wow.
that's going to be it. Colin Roundtree, 2 games to 0 over Ari Lax, and you heard the play-by-play call there. Give this line, attack you. Ari said, dead.
I really like the way Colin played, just very confident, too.
It looks like
Kind of what you expect
Kenji
from all
Tsumura
the
may
six,
have
like,
made a
yeah,
trip
your
over to the
cards don't
Guggenheim
quite
Museum
line
here.
up
He's got a
right
little
away.
bit of modern art going on his playmat there.
Yeah, I think
he made a smiley face for Shuhei.
I demystify, draw my other demystify.
Looks like Shuhei just stepped away for a moment. He'll be right back.
Well, good luck in the finals.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Same to you. Good luck next
That was nice. You could also just very clearly hear everything that was going on in that match as well.
Yeah, it is
that.
nice.
How
And
many matches I've ever won at the Pro Tour Unlimited?
It's okay. I was
Dude, matches Pro Tour is fucking hard.
whoa, easy, buddy.
up into
I 0-3 my last one.
Easy there, buddy. But yeah,
Kenji with the smiley face.
the sentiment is not incorrect, though, right? I mean, you sit here in round 2 of the PT, and you're sitting across from Ari Lax, right? You're like, oh, I remember watching you win the Pro Tour a couple of years ago on,
Yeah.
on Twitch, and it is just kind of how that goes. Is that you don't get that many rounds off at the PT when it comes to playing against excellent players. So, all right, looks like Shuhei has returned.
Y'all had the 5-colored archetype, right? For that PT or no?
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
blue-black flyers, blue-black skies against black-white vampires here. That game 2 is actually very interesting. Kenji just kind of clawing back.
Both of these players, by the way, very pleasant people in real life. It's hard to root against one of them, but I kind of want to see blue-black Flyers. I want to see, it's
I just
like
want to see favorable wins. Oh, there it is.
Hey, turn 2 favorable wins. Not ideal for Shuhei, but it could certainly pay dividends. Oh, and right off the top
There
of
it
the
is.
library, he finds a Sky March Bloodletter, a 3/3.
A 3-mana 3/3 flyer common. Wow.
Oh my God! If he curves this into Spirewinder, it's just game. Shuhei very quickly takes the damage
Does he have
here.
the land?
Oh, he just found a Sailor of
Maybe
Means
even better.
to just brick wall the ground here, and Shuhei Nakamura looking like a genius.
Oh, wow. And
Oh, no.
Kenji stuck on
Oh,
2
no.
lands. There it is. There is the 4th land.
Yeah, this could be done. Let's see if Shuhei does have that follow-up play, though.
You know
Maybe
you're in
it's
trouble when somebody attacks you with Sailor of Means.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Wow.
7, 8, 9. So
He's
with-
almost ascended
yes,
too?
with any land, that thing is going to be a 4/5 flyer. Oh, any land, any permanent
no.
next turn. This has gotten completely out of hand to the point that Shuhei is now attacking with Sailor of Means because he can give up 1 damage for
Right.
3.
Oh, there's a permanent 4/5. We got a 4/5 flyer and a 3/3 flyer.
Oh my goodness, these are both common as well.
And did you see his
And he
hand?
has Moment of Craving as well. So
And skullduggery.
Shuhei Nakamura really dropping the hammer on Kenji Tsumura here, and that's
He's like,
going to do it.
I'm done. I've seen enough. And you
Man.
got your wish, Marshall.
I did. I guess I asked for it, didn't I?
You did.
My goodness. Shuhei Nakamura says, I got you, buddy.
Where was the turn one blight keeper? That's what I wanted, just for the actual perfect draw.
Now, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm assuming they're not swearing. So
No,
that's
are
cool.
they?
Probably just commiserating a little bit. You never want to see, your opponent, especially a great player. I mean, I know, Shuhei's one of those Magic players that even after having, perhaps played as many or more premier level matches than anybody, I wouldn't be shocked if he was in the top 3 of all time. He's
Absolutely.
played more GPs and that kind of stuff. He still wants to have a good, clean match, and having his opponent stumble a bit there on mana, probably not what Shuhei wanted.
It's just awesome just to see sometimes, like, having people, sometimes in the middle of a draft, you just all of a sudden realize you're like, hey, I'm getting some flyers here. Maybe I'll just draft a favorable wins deck. And Shuhei has proven just to be very creative and be able to pull that off at times. I've talked to a lot of his former teammates when he was on Team Channel Fireball, where they were just like, yeah, Shuhei just manages to 3-0 every draft, and sometimes his decks just look really bad.
Yes.
But he still just finds ways to get there.
He actually is kind of the king of that. We've
Right.
seen that in the side drafts and even at the Pro Tour level, where he can kind of just scrap together it's like, Shuhei, that card's not good, and then he's just getting value out of it and setting up situations. I give a lot of credit to the way he plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that he just understands how to set up cards to be the best that they can be, and that lets him even go a little lower on the old pick order than maybe you would want.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've got some cool stuff lined up for you after these matches, including a draft builder with Ari Lax. Don't go anywhere.
Well, that is round 2 in the books here at Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. Some results for you from the floor. Yam Wing Chun currently sitting at 2-0. You may remember him almost getting there at Pro Tour Hour of Devastation. Corey Baumeister on Team Genesis also starting the day off very well at 2-0. And we heard from him earlier this morning about how insanely important it is to master draft, particularly at this Pro Tour. Somebody else on Team Genesis is down with Brian David Marshall on the floor.
All right, I'm here on the floor with Pro Tour Ixalan champion, Seth Manfield. Seth, we watched you draft. Talk to us a little bit about how the packs ebbed and flowed in Merfolk and Dinosaurs for you.
Sure, I started out on some blue cards. I think my first 4 picks were all like, I kept on taking 2 drops because I like to have 2 drops to start out my draft, because then I know I can fill out the rest of my curve pretty well. So I had multiple blue and green 2 drops in the Merfolk tribe, and so I felt like I was reasonably well set up to start off. Even packs 1 and 2, I felt like Rivals of Ixalan. I got a really late Lord in Merfolk. I got a Water Knot. I got a Bounce Spell. So I was thinking, all right, you know, and the packs didn't seem super overpowered. There was obviously a lot of talent in the draft. But then pack 3 was just pretty miserable for me. I was like, all right, let's switch from Merfolks to like Merfolks and Dinosaurs, because I didn't get any Merfolks at all in pack 3. And so that whole idea of being an all Merfolk deck just went out the window. But sometimes you have to improvise in this format. So
Yeah. Now you got a 7th pick, Lord.
Yeah.
Which in pack 2, which seems, you know, like maybe you're expecting, even going the other way, that the packs are going to work out for you. But what are you going to go back and watch the draft viewer and see what other people at the table were doing? Who are you really interested in seeing what happened with?
Yeah, I'm interested to see. Ben White's was to my immediate right, what he was doing. I think he might have not had a great draft because I wasn't really sure what colors he was in. And then I remember seeing like a Ravenous Chupacabra in pack 2 that I actually shipped for a Crashing Tide, I believe. And then apparently like Cuneo took it in 5th pick, but he wasn't even in black. That's what he told me. So like, there was obviously some stuff going on. People were changing colors. I just kind of stayed the course, and my deck isn't great, but I'm 1-1 with it right now. I think it's a 2-1-1-2 deck. So
Now you played Owen Turtenwald this round. How many times have you played him since that World Championship Finals that you defeated him in?
Yeah, it's been a few years since we played in the 2015 World Championships, but this is actually the first time since then we played. So, yeah, I'm sure he's not thrilled to be 0-2, but someone's got to be the 0-2 drafter, and yeah, this pod was pretty stacked.
All right, Seth Manfield evened things up here at 1-1. 2 rounds into Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan. Onward and upward from here as he tries to run it back as the Pro Tour Rivals of Ixalan champion now.
Wow, Owen Turtenwald 0-2. If there is anyone likely to come back from a 0-2 starting point to make the top 8 of a Pro Tour, it's him. Now, if you're a fan of Luis Scott Vargas on coverage, great news. He's 0-2 as well, which means he's halfway to joining us here in the booth on Sunday. If you're a fan like we are of Luis Scott Vargas, terrible news. He started out 0-2, and that probably means he's going to be with us on Sunday. So that's the state of play there. Owen and Luis both are 0-2. Of course, they won't play each other because they're in different pods. A reminder, if you're new to draft, you're going to only play players within your set of 8. Just behind us, incidentally, time has been called on round number 2. So we'll get things turned around as fast as we can. Probably about 20, 25 matches still going. So it's time for our draft builder. Yes, we'll look at the first few picks, but it's more about how does the draft deck come together over a whole series of 3 packs. You've already seen Arilax win in round 1. You've just seen him go down in a tight one in round 2. So how did his deck come together? One of the most talkative and knowledgeable players on the tour is going to share his knowledge with you now. Here's Simon Gertson with Arilax.